You know how sometimes a dream vacation can take a turn you just never ever see coming? A turn into a place where the views are absolutely breathtaking, but the feeling, well, the feeling is just terrifying. This is the story of what happened to two sisters in a beautiful homestay, a place that was holding on to a very dark and very restless secret.
From the very moment she stepped inside, one of the sisters, Reema, just had this gut feeling. You know the kind? That deep instinctual warning that something is terribly wrong. But with no other options on the table, what were they supposed to do? This is the exact moment their perfect vacation started to come apart at the seams. So for these sisters, Reema and Neena, this trip was a huge deal. It was a long time coming. See, Reema was married, she had a 2-year-old daughter, and life was busy. They had been trying to plan a getaway forever, but it just never seemed to pan out. Until now.
And the opportunity was just perfect. A bunch of Reema's childhood friends were celebrating a massive life achievement, and they invited the sisters to come along for this epic 15-day tour of Uttarakhand. After weeks of planning, they were finally on their way, with beautiful Nainital set as their final, relaxing stop.
So they arrive in Nainital after this amazing journey, totally ready for the last leg of their trip. And then, disaster strikes. The hotel they had booked cancels on them at the last minute, leaving them totally stranded with all their luggage and absolutely nowhere to stay for the next 3 nights.
So they're scrambling, searching online, and they find what looks like a total lifesaver, this beautiful homestay that's available immediately. And on the surface, honestly, it seemed even better than the hotel. But that feeling of relief, it was very quickly overshadowed by something else, something much, much darker. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, because you have this huge conflict between what they were seeing and what Reema was feeling. The 2-bedroom flat, it was gorgeous. It had these stunning mountain views from massive French windows, and the price was unbelievably low. But for Reema, none of that mattered. From the second she walked in, a little voice in her head was just screaming, "Get out! Get out now!"
Despite that deep unease, they booked the place. What choice did they have? Later that evening, as they're all just relaxing and hanging out, Reema, who has a real eye for small details, saw something on her bedroom door. Just a tiny clue that hinted at a really violent history. The door itself looked brand new, with a modern knob lock. But if you looked closely, you could clearly see these gouges and splintered wood where an old-style bolt lock, a kundi, used to be. And it wasn't just replaced. It looked like it had been forcefully torn right from the frame. That image just stuck in her mind. Why would someone do that? So the friends talked late into the night, enjoying the last few days of their trip. Reema, feeling a bit of a chill, went back to her bedroom to grab a shawl. It was just after midnight, and that's when it all started. She gets her shawl from this heavy, really tight-fitting wardrobe and pushes it closed. She turns to the mirror for just a second, and in the reflection, she sees it. The wardrobe door just clicks open, all on its own. She spins around in shock, and in that exact instant, the door slams shut with incredible force. Can you imagine? Her heart was just pounding. Now, Reema was a spiritual person, and she knew what she saw was not just the wind, it was paranormal. But everyone was having such a good time. She couldn't bring herself to ruin the mood, so she pushed down her fear and said absolutely nothing. Back in the room, her sister, Neena, fell asleep pretty much instantly. But for Reema, sleep was completely impossible. That unease from earlier had bloomed into full-blown terror. She just lay there, awake, every sense on high alert, as the room and the world outside transformed into an absolute nightmare. The night just became this relentless assault on her senses. It began with the sound of fingernails dragging down the huge glass window right next to her bed. And for the next 3 hours, it just didn't stop. It was a chorus of horrors from just outside their room, while inside, an unseen presence was making itself known. And this wasn't just one sound. It was everything, all at once. From outside, she could hear the agonized screams of several people, like they were being tortured. Dogs were barking frantically. That scratching on the window came back again and again. And worst of all, she could feel it, like physically feel, someone running, circling their bed in the darkness. Paralyzed with fear, Reema just stared at the TV, not daring to close her eyes. She felt like she couldn't protect herself, only her sister sleeping next to her. In her mind, she began to plead with whatever was out there, begging for mercy, thinking of her little girl back home. At 4:30 in the morning, as suddenly as it all began,
Everything just stopped. A completely unnatural silence fell over the place. Reema finally drifted into this exhausted sleep. When she woke up, she immediately told Neena everything that had happened. At first, Neena was a little skeptical, and then she remembered something.
So Reema had just gone through this night of absolute auditory and sensory terror. But what about Neena, the sister who had seemingly slept through it all? Well, it turns out she had her own bizarre and chilling experience.
Get this, right before she fell asleep, Neena's phone, which was just plugged in and charging, suddenly activates Siri all by itself. And the digital voice speaks a single crystal clear name, Mona. Neena doesn't know anyone named Mona. She just brushes it off as a glitch, but then, as she's drifting off to sleep, she hears the name whispered in her ear, Mona, Mona.
And in that moment, everything just clicked. Reema's terrifying night and Neena's strange, very specific auditory clue. It was just too much to be a coincidence. The terror was real, and they were right in the middle of it. They woke up their friends and told them everything. Now, Reema's story alone was scary enough, but when Neena added the detail about Siri and the name Mona, all doubt just vanished from the room. I mean, if Reema had just imagined the screams, how could she have possibly influenced her sister's phone?
And this just shows you their absolute fear. There was no discussion, no hesitation. They didn't care one bit about the money they had already paid. They just packed their bags in a total frenzy and fled that homestay as fast as they possibly could, leaving the beautiful views and the terrible presence far behind them.
They got out safely, thank God, but the story leaves us with this really haunting thought. Who was Mona? What violent event happened in that room that required a door to be literally ripped from its frame? They escaped, but the question still remains. What is still there in that beautiful homestay in the mountains, just waiting?